Okay.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Sure.
Individual residential builder license, I assume, what's the difference between that and like a salesperson license?
So a salesperson cannot build a home. They're only signing contracts on behalf of a builder, so they don't have that code compliance course. Theirs is a little bit more about law. So their exam will be what kind of information has to be on a contract, how much of a down payment can I take, all of those things. That's that business and law portion that a salesperson is going to have. The individual builder is going to have, and the maintenance and alteration contractor, they're going to have that business and law, and they're going to have code compliance. So, but again, that salesperson has to work for a builder. They don't work for themselves ever. So if they quit a job with a builder, they can go, for instance, Lowe's and Home Depot. I quit Lowe's, I went to Home Depot, I reach out to the state. Actually, Home Depot, my new employer, will reach out to the state and transfer that license over to Home Depot. Go ahead.
Individual license or residential builder company license, does that cover all the components of an M&A license? There'll be a whole that can make you those types of work, the concrete, the masonry.
Yes. So company licenses are going to be based off of the individual license. So if you have a residential builder license, you'll have a residential builder company license. It means you can build an entire house. If you have an M&A license for roofing, you'll get an M&A company for roofing, and that's all you can do. Correct.
So, general contractors, like if you come up, you want to do your bathroom over or something else, who needs a license for that work? Are they an M&A contractor?
So, State of Michigan does not issue licenses for general contractors. There is no general contractor as far as residential projects go. You'll see that language a lot with the commercial side, but not on the residential side. People will sell themselves as general contractors, which is fine. They're a coordinator is what they are. They don't have to hold a license, whatever else like that. I'm only using these people for examples. You'll see some of the bath stores, the kitchen and bath remodel stores. They'll act as your general just to facilitate getting the builder in, getting the plumber in, getting the electrician in. Those people will all have to have a license, but the bath store itself does not have to because they're not doing the work. I'm sorry? Yes, yep, absolutely. We do too. The problem that we run into is nationwide, general contractor is used a lot. State of Michigan does not use it. So that's where you get a lot. You get a lot of the out-of-state people coming in. How do I get my general contractor's license? I think Indiana issues a general electrical contracting license, which means every electrician. That's not how we operate. So the language is very confusing from state to state too. You're welcome. Okay, so again, back to individual. They always have to have an individual license. The rest of this cannot happen without a valid individual license. Individual builders, they can represent many companies. We have seen builders, so you have your individual builder, and we have one right now who has 30 company licenses. They do it by subdivision. They're a single large builder, Southeast Michigan, and I can't remember the name, but they have an LLC for each of the subdivisions that they do. That way the billing and contracts and everything else, I'm sure, is cleaner for them. It's not in violation of any law. It's the same company and individual that are doing the work. But because they spread that out for their own booking, again, it meets the law requirements. So they're fine, they're good. But they always have to have that individual. So individual license, company license if you have an LLC or a corporation, branches if you have more than one location if you are a company, and then salesperson if you have somebody else out signing contracts on your behalf. Getting these licenses. Again, you're gonna apply to us to get these licenses. Plumbing and electrical, for the apprentice, journey, and master, you have to have experience. You have to have done the work or be in the process of learning to get a license. Apprentices is that language. That is absolutely what the definition of both of those are within the Act, is that someone who is in the trade to learn the work. So they cannot work by themselves. they have to, the law says directly overseen, but we usually call that within the same building. Obviously, you're going to have multiple apprentices, and a journey or master is going to be running back and forth between these ones. So you don't have to stand over them every second, but you have to go back and double check their work and make sure that they have done it to code compliance. Plumbing, same way. They must work for a contractor master. Apprentice and journeys cannot work on their PSI. They do, there's I think 2 here in Southfield, Lansing, Grand Rapids, Gaylord, Marquette. We also have kicked off 2 online remote examinations. So that's plumbing master and contractor. So hopefully we're gonna add more and see how those go and go from there. And then once that has happened, once they pass that examination, once they go to the examination, they're actually done with us because that license will auto issue once they've passed their exam. There's no limit except for electricians on how many times they can take an exam. We realize testing is stressful, so they can go back and take the exam whenever they need to. Okay. All right, our online system. I know that there's a lot of confusion about our online system. We strongly suggest people use the online system. Mail is no longer our friend. Mail can take 3 weeks to even get to the state. When the state receives it, it goes through a whole process of processing the mail, processing money before it even gets to us. So there's 3 to 5 days after that before it even hits our desk. Plus, we are constantly reviewing applications. So right now, our goal is to stay within 21 days. We hit that. Usually during renewals, that'll get backed up a little bit more. But for that, 21 days. But again, it took 3 to 5 weeks to even to get to us. So the online system puts you in the queue automatically. You're right there. You're missing that 3 to 5 weeks to begin with. Our website shows at the top of this page, way up in the top right-hand side, there is FAQs. We have done all kinds of different, this is a screenshot of, the process is in there. You create an account, you have to link your license because it doesn't automatically fall in there. Then you can make changes to your address. You can renew a license. If you have an individual license, you can apply for a builder license. You can make all of these changes within the website and you can handle it on your own. You can do it at night. You can do it during the day on the weekend. But my staff is always available Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. That's what we're there for. We have a call center on top of processing the applications. Also, you can search for a licensee. So if you get somebody, I'm sure that you guys use it very often, verify that somebody has a license. This is what the general public can see also. So they can verify that somebody's got a license or what classifications they have on their license. We're trying to make some updates and changes because the company names don't always show. Skilled trades licensees are issued to individuals, not companies. So those ones, if you're an electrician, even if you're running under Sparky's Electric, it doesn't show up on your license only because the way the system is built. So we're trying to get that in there so you can see that. We don't issue the license to the company, but we realize that's the truck that people see. So they want to know. They don't know how to ask who that licensee is. All right. So again, once you have a license, now what do? You're out bidding jobs. You have to be cognizant of your contractual and financial obligations. Residential builders run into it a lot. They take money from one job to feed another, and then you get in this vicious circle, and then you end up in big trouble. So you have to use the State Construction Lien Act requires you to take money in and only use it as a trust for that specific job. So if you take $5,000 in, that $5,000 has to stay with that job. Even if you only spend $10 in the first week, it has to stay with that job. You can't use it to rob Peter to pay Paul. Permits versus licenses. Again, check with your permitting authority depending on what your work you're doing, if you're gonna need one. Again, the law has requirements and exemptions, but you wanna check with them and see if, what needs a permit, what needs an inspection. Again, with that service versus installation, services don't typically require a permit. They don't require an inspection, so you're not gonna have those. We see a lot of locals have stopped registering mechanical contractors with just the service classifications, so they don't ever accidentally get issued an installation license, or installation permit, excuse me. Maintain your licensing. Again, if you've taken an exam to get a license, don't ever let it go. 3 years, it's gone, you start over again. So maintain the licenses, do your code updates. Plumbing and electrical, they have to do a code update when we update the codes, which is typically every 3 years, and they have to complete it within 12 months of that code adoption. So it's not necessarily tied to a renewal cycle. They have to keep it. And then they just keep records that they completed it in case they get audited. Continuing education, some of the builders have continuing education that they have to do. When they are initially issued a license, they have 21 hours per 3-year cycle for the first 2 cycles. After that, it's 3 hours every 3 years. And then renewing timely. Anytime you are unlicensed is unlicensed time. Work that you did during that time that is unlicensed can hurt you in court.